It wasn't social media or Twitter or the message boards that set this April 15th deadline for the Pac-12 to get their media deal finally done. No, it wasn't them. It was the Pac-12 officials themselves. They're the ones who put the deadline out there. University of Arizona president, Arizona State's president, leadership from Washington State, Oregon State. They're the ones in interviews out in public that set this deadline sometime in the spring for the Pac-12 to finally get their deal done. And who would be that fourth school? Let's say Arizona State, and Colorado decide to pull the trigger and leaves the Pac-12 to the Big 12. Who would actually be the fourth school? Well, let's see what Jason Scheer says of Arizona 247, Arizona Authority. He was on 365 Sports this afternoon. We're going to break it all down. Welcome to episode 191 of College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash that like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family and friends. Let's not waste any more time. Let's break it down. Now, we're going to put a link in the description box of the whole interview, of the whole show of 365 Sports. It's an incredible, informative, entertaining college football, college sports channel. You got to take a listen. You got to take a look. But in this episode, we're going to be just breaking it down. Jason Scheer, the bullet points, PATC, Chalk Talk. He was asked questions. What's going on? What is going on with the Pac-12 schools? Are any of them going to leave for the Big 12? When is it going to happen? If it does, let's get right to it. Jason Scheer. By the way, he's been on this story from day one, and from PATC's perception, from what we know from our own sources, Jason Scheer has been knocking it out of the park day in, day out. So give him a listen. Watch what he says at Arizona 247. Again, back to the interview. Clear signs of smoke. This is Jason Scheer saying this. Clear signs of smoke with Colorado and Arizona potentially leaving Pac-12 to the Big 12. Not saying either school will leave the Pac-12 tomorrow or Monday, tomorrow being Friday, but there has been discussions between those two schools and the Big 12, as Jason Scheer told us all weeks and weeks and weeks ago. He got raked over the coals, but he was absolutely correct. Jason Scheer says it's very clear those discussions have involved scheduling between those two schools in the Big 12. Those two schools in the Big 12, and what a move would entail. The reported deadline to get the Pac-12 media done here in the spring was not set by social media, but Pac-12 presidents, as we said in the opening of this episode, Arizona State, Washington State, and Oregon State, out in the public. When multiple Pac-12 presidents came out all at once in the public to discuss the progress of the Pac-12 media rights negotiations, they were probably sent out by GK, George Kliavkoff, to calm the waters. However, some of these presidents set deadlines in these interviews, and those deadlines won't be met. It's clear that they won't be met. Dates of April 15th was put out there. Ray Anderson, the athletic director of Arizona State, said months ago that he thought he said a deal really needs to be done by the middle of March. Now we're closing in on the middle of April, and yet no deal. Jason Scheer says there's clearly no Pac-12 media deal done. Erroneous reports have come out in the past, but those are all been false. There is no deal done. And the media deal is not imminent. It's not close at hand. It's not going to be happening soon. And this is what Jason Scheer says in this great interview with 365 Sports. Robbins, the president of Arizona, set the table for departure during the interviews. He set the table. During the interviews, if he decides Arizona needs to leave for the Pac-12, for the Big 12, he set the benchmarks, as we said at Peek Around the Corner, when it happened. The day that Robbins had these interviews with Dennis Dodds and others, it looked like he was setting benchmarks, making sure everybody knew where he stood. So just in case he needed to pull the trigger for the University of Arizona school to leave to the Big 12, that he was leaving everybody with a clear message. This is why we had to do it, and I gave everybody a warning about it. He mentions the April 15th deadline. That was one of his benchmarks. Now, he said personally, he didn't need the April 15th. He did not need a deadline for right now, but the other Pac-12 presidents need to get this done. They don't want any more noise. They don't want any more distraction. They want to get this done. And from Peek Around the Corner's perspective, from our sources, Arizona State is one of those schools that wants to get this deal done right now. And that's not going to happen. Take that however you want to take it. The other thing that Robbins said, the President Robbins of Arizona said, the media deal can't be heavy streaming. That was another benchmark that he put up there. Jason Scheer explained it to us all here in this 365 Sports interview. That was a benchmark. It can't be heavy streaming. And Robbins also, the other benchmark was the deal needs to be close or better than the Big 12 media deal. It needs to be close. It can't be way off. This is a business. Robbins also says, we have Big 12 numbers. Now we're just waiting on the Pac-12 numbers. That's what he said. Jason Scheer also commented in this interview today, if the Pac-12 media deal is set for $25 million per school, with poor exposure than some Pac-12 schools will be willing to leave the conference. So if it's like around $25 million, of course less, with poor exposure, then some Pac-12 schools will be willing to leave the conference. Pac-12 schools will not leave to the Big 12 if the media payouts are only a couple million less than the Big 12 schools payouts and exposure is close to the Big 12s. They're not leaving. We agree here at Peek Around the Corner. In the order of likelihood on what Pac-12 schools leave for the Big 12, Jason Scheer was asked, rank in order the schools of the Big 12 that you think would leave first, second, third. Jason Scheer says Colorado number 1, Arizona 2, and Arizona State number 3. But he also made it clear that it could be Arizona leaving first. And if Arizona pulls the trigger first, then Colorado and Arizona would be following close behind. It very well might be Colorado, then Arizona, Arizona State, but those are definitely the top 3 schools, as we all know. By Jason Scheer's reporting and other people's reporting, those are the top 3 most likely to leave, with Colorado being the number 1, Arizona close behind number 2, and then Arizona State's going to be closely behind Arizona. Now, Jason Scheer was also asked a fascinating question, and his answer was fascinating. They asked him at 365 Sports, they asked Jason Scheer, so who would be the 4th school? Who would be the 4th school to leave from the Pac-12 to the Big 12 if Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State all announced that they were leaving? Jason Scheer's answer was, I have no idea. Peek Around the Corner's answer to that question is also, we have no idea. Jason Scheer went on to say, look, Washington, Oregon, they're going to be waiting. They're going to see what the Big Ten, what they're going to be looking at with their new commissioner. Has the math changed and all that? And he also said, we don't know about Utah. Clearly, there's a clear delineation between Utah and these other 3 schools of Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State. And then Jason Scheer says, you know what? That 4th school, it may be a school that's not currently in the Pac-12. Jason Scheer did not give a name of an institution of a school, but here at Peek Around the Corner, we'll say to you, San Diego State, we're looking at you, kid. We're looking at you. The opportunity could be there. The dominoes have to fall. They always start at the top at realignment when it comes to realignment. If those 3 Pac-12 schools leave to the Big 12 and no one else is budging from the Pac-12, if Oregon and Washington is waiting, still talking with the Big 10 or resuming talks with the Big 10, wink, wink, nod, nod, Could San Diego State find an opportunity to move to the Big 12, to finally jump over the wall to get into a Power 5 conference? What are your comments? Give me your comments and thoughts in the comment section below the video. Give me your strongly held opinions, because I know you have them. Who would be that fourth school? And who's going to be the first school in the Pac-12 to move to the Big 12 if any of them pull the trigger? And when is this going to happen? When does the first domino fall, if it falls? Next week? Last week of April? First week of May? Here at Peek Around the Corner, we think it's going to be sooner rather than later. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not Tuesday, not Wednesday. But a few days after that, it could be. I think it very well could be the start of the dominoes falling. Not March 21st, like John Casano said, but the dominoes start to fall here sooner rather than later, as the Pac-12, the conference, is resting on the knife's edge. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.